Welcome to episode 2 of the WHYBUT podcast, which stands for What Have You Been Up To? And Isaac, what have you been up to?
Right this second, you mean today? Are you asking? Because I've just been
today
to famous name brand coffee location, Nick, because it is that time of the year, man. I have just picked myself up a pumpkin spice latte. I'm drinking it as we speak, and it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. It's one of those beverages that, depending on who you are, people either love it or they kind of roll their eyes at the pumpkin spice latte. I am one of those people, Nick, where it's delicious. It's so sweet. It's super autumny. It's got those like cinnamon, clove, nutmeggy flavors to it. It's delicious, Nick. I love it so much. How are you a fan of the pumpkin spice latte from unnamed coffee location?
I am. I'm a bit taken aback. It's the beginning of September. It's not even the beginning of September. It's the beginning of September when this comes out. It's actually the end of August right now. Is this the earliest they've ever released this?
So I don't think so. I think I've got a Starbucks account. I'm a loyalty member, right? And so I think you get access a week early. If you're a loyalty member, you can get the drink early. If you have the account, they just email you and let you know. Whereas I think it comes out September 6th or something. Not a sponsor, by the way, not a sponsor. But I think that's how that works, by the way, for the reason why I have the drink in August.
Right. No, not a sponsor from unnamed coffee brand. I can't believe we live in a world where you've got early access to a drink. This is crazy. I'm going to leave.
I think I have early access to the drink, but I don't think I actually have early access to the drink. I think if you were to walk into a Starbucks and just ask for it, they would give it to you.
Right.
So, they don't have it shown on the menu just yet, but they have everything to make it. And so if you ask for it, they will just make it for you. Right. I think because I didn't have to pull out my membership ID, and get 3 forms of ID to prove that it was me before they give it to me. Right. I just asked for it and they were like, yeah, that's fine. And they charged me for it. So that's been my morning, man. But for me personally, it's been a wild ride, Nick, because it has, for those listening at home, it has actually been 2 weeks since the last episode of the podcast for us, right? We recorded the first episode and then that took a little while to get out because I was away. I went to Amsterdam for a week. And then this last week, I've just been ill the whole week, which has not been fun. And so I have this dichotomy, Nick, where I did a lot of stuff in Amsterdam, and then this last week I have done nothing. I have been on the couch, just watching TV, Nick, just chilling, And in fact, one of the things I did is I finally got around to watching The Last of Us, the TV show. I don't know if you've actually seen this or not.
So, I was in one of those situations where it came out. I think it came out, I want to say, at the beginning of March, end of February, mid-end of February, beginning of March. It's currently the end of August. And I went away abroad for a few weeks, and I said to myself, I'm going to watch the whole thing. I think there's 10 episodes. 9, correct me if I'm wrong, 9 episodes. I thought, okay, there is basically a 9-hour flight, right, to where I was going. So I logged on to Sky Go. I downloaded all of the 9 episodes, right? And I was like, great, I'll watch it on the plane. The flight was at 6 a.m, got on the plane, was in a complete zombie state, went to sleep, right? Fast forward 3 weeks later, when I then came back, I was like, great, right, I'm going to watch Last of Us on the plane on the journey back. Fantastic. Flight was at 4 a.m, right? Got on the plane, zombied out, went to sleep. That's it. And I can't even usually sleep on planes, but I was so zombie.
I cannot either, yeah.
I find it impossible. I need to be lying down to sleep. I think that's what I've discovered. I don't know if it's the same with you, where it's more the posture of your body rather than the noise. But for me, it really is.
Yeah, I don't think it is the noise for me. I think I could potentially sleep on a plane. For me, it's the neck. The seats only come up to below my shoulders. And so I have nowhere to rest my head. My neck is just, loose. And I think when my neck is loose, I can't sleep, man. Loose neck, no sleep for me, man.
Yeah.
So you've not seen it though, I assume.
I have not seen it. I've got it downloaded on my iPad, but I've not seen it. I should get on it. Yeah.
It's a good show, man. I really liked it. It is like I don't think you've played the game, right?
I haven't.
Yeah. Have you watched somebody play the game, or are you just like
No.
You're completely blind? Interesting.
Completely.
If you've played the game, the story is beat for beat the same, which makes sense, right? But it's great. It's a good show. It's very sad. It's a staggeringly sad show. But so get your tissues out, Nick, if you're gonna watch it.
Okay.
But it's great. It's good. I would recommend it. As a viewing experience. Yeah, I binged it in maybe like 2 days. You know, clocked all 9 episodes. I was watching like 4 hours of TV a day.
Very
just
good.
The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But it's really good. I really liked it. It's a good show.
Okay. What else has been on the docket, Isaac? What else have you been watching through the week of illness? Any other standouts?
I watched a couple of things. I finally got around to watching this Apple original movie called Tetris. I don't know if you've seen this. Like, there was a Tetris movie. There's a lot of, like, Apple TV is one of those weird situations, right? Where I don't think I've ever paid for a month of Apple TV, but I've had like 3 years of Apple TV because anytime I buy anything from anywhere, I get 3 months Apple TV.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that unlike any other service I've ever gotten a free trial for, Apple just keeps letting you do it. Like, my free trial will end. I'll be like, fine. I click don't renew, right? Like, as soon as I sign up, I turn auto renewal off so I don't get charged for it. But then as soon as it expires, I just check my email, type in like free Apple TV, and there's like 6 things that come up. I just click one of the links and it just works again for another 3 months. And I'm like, all right, fine. But Apple TV is just weird in that there's a lot of stuff on there that I feel like is actually quite good that nobody talks about because it's on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's interesting. Are those like free trials? Like, do they expire within a short amount of time?
I have clicked a link from Currys, which is a retailer here in the UK that was over a year old, and it gave me 3 months free Apple TV, man. So if you've got it, give it a go. See
I've
if
probably
it works.
got like 2 years worth of Apple TV backed up in free trials just from the products that I bought, for not even for just myself, but whenever
For
anyone wants an Apple product,
right?
they'll just order it through me. They'll be like, can you sort this out?
Yep.
I'll be like, yeah, no problem. And then they've all got the free Apple TV things as well. So I should finesse this. Okay.
100%, man.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like 6 months, sometimes it's 3 months.
Yeah.
But it's I've managed to get so many free trials through emails and stuff. It's crazy. But Tetris is pretty good. It's a movie about this dude who, like, Tetris is invented in Russia during like the Soviet Union, right? And so trying to get rights to distribute Tetris like worldwide, where from this Russian person who has like no rights in and of themselves because like at the time Russia is communist, so like who does anyone own anything? And there's like the whole thing where the Russian state gets an idea of the fact that they're trying to buy it, and then they're trying to sell it for a good price, and it's a whole thing. But it's a pretty good movie. I quite liked it. It's not really like a documentary. I guess it is a movie, but I think it's based on true events that did transpire. And I also watched a movie called Sharper as well on Apple TV, which is like a conman mystery movie, which was also all right. It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, Nick, but better than the Mario movie. That's my official verdict.
That's the benchmark.
I got a little bit of pushback in the YouTube comments about my take on the Mario movie.
Really?
Not being particularly good. Yeah. But I stand by it. I don't think it's a particularly great movie, all things considered.
Interesting. Okay. Very good. So is this the full range then? Any other standouts? Anything noticeably terrible that you started to watch and then sacked off?
I don't know. I think it might be due to the fact that my brain is so foggy because of the fact that I was ill.
Okay, fair enough.
I think for the most part, like usually, Nick, I'm not going to lie, like I'll usually, before I give any mental energy to watch something, I'll usually look and see if it's any good, right? If I look at something and it's got like a 12 on Metacritic, I'm going to be like, no, I'll just pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is maybe not the best idea in the world, because I feel like you might miss out on some stuff if you kind of just go by review scores, like exclusively. You might miss out on some stuff that you really like, because obviously it's just an aggregate, right? There are going to be outliers there, but at the same time, we live in a world where there is just so much good television to watch that it feels like such a waste to dedicate any time at all to garbage television, right? If it's not great, like, why am I watching it?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
I've got a list as long as my arm of things that people are like, you should watch this, you should watch
Same.
this, you should watch this, you should watch this. And so, like, looking at a random show on Netflix and being like, oh, this has got a 42 on Rotten Tomatoes, do I want to bother watching it? You know, I usually don't.
Yeah, because there's two categories, I feel. There's the stuff that you actually want to watch category, and then there's the background noise category where you just will put something on to have as background noise. And it will always be when you surf for stuff without looking at any reviews, where it will be the situation where you're just looking for stuff for background noise, right? So if you're going to be surfing and find something random, you're not actually going to be paying attention to it. So even if it ends up being something you'd like, you might not even be aware to that fact because it's just on. A couple of weeks ago, I put an anime movie on, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think I even put the dubbed version on, right? So it was in English, just because I knew that I was putting it on for background noise.
You were going to focus on it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea what happened to that movie. I was in the room that this was playing in the whole time, right? 1.5, 2 hours, thereabouts. No idea what happened. Absolutely no clue.
I can't do that, man. I cannot do it. I do have stuff that I will watch, like, kind of passively, but it's all stuff that I've seen before. Like, if I'm putting background TV on, it's probably like a rerun episode of The Office. Or like, it's usually like a sitcom that I've seen previously. You know what I mean? If I'm looking for kind of background television. If there is something on that I've not seen before, I think it would actually annoy me that I didn't know what was going on. Like, that I was zoned out on it. You know what I mean? I'd catch like a sentence or two and then I'd be like a little annoyed that I didn't know. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I can't ignore what's going on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this was the first time I actually put anything on TV as background noise. My usual day-to-day watching is earphones in, stuff on YouTube while working, right?
Yeah.
But I will actually pivot to concentrating if something interesting happens in whatever I'm watching. This was the first time I've ever put something on the TV without paying attention, and that TV could have been off for all I cared. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do that, right? Like, yes. I think a lot of people watch TV like whilst fully on their phone. Like, they are. Like, I cannot read on my phone while watching TV. Like, if I'm like at that point, I'm not watching TV, right? At that point, I'm on my phone. I'm scrolling. I've completely zoned out what's going on the TV. So I don't know how people do it, man. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I want to say that I do that. I think I do a lot of messaging, scrolling, news checking, all the usual stuff, right, while something's on TV. But I think I can actually concentrate on both. I'll just flip very quickly. I
can pivot. Like, if it's like a quick message, like someone's like, you know, hey, you know, are you free tomorrow at 3 or whatever? And I'm just like, yeah. Like, I can, you know, I'll like, oh, you want to do 4? Like, if you message me, like, and you know, and you're like, hey, can we push till 4 o'clock tomorrow? I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. 4 works for me. Or no, it's not. Like, that's fine. But like, I couldn't scroll Twitter while watching. Like, I could, but I wouldn't be watching the TV show. I couldn't look at news or something, right? I'd be just completely checked out of it.
Okay, so you're focused on one thing fully.
I'd be interested. Like, you know, I think everybody is, right? I think I'd be interested because there are going to be a lot of people who say that they can fully concentrate and fully grasp everything that a movie or a TV show is trying to give whilst also being on their phone. But I am like 95% certain that if we did a comprehension test after the episode of the movie or TV series to see what you remembered, I think the people on their phone would score much lower than the people just paying attention. Yeah. Like, and they wouldn't know it, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be one of those where you ask them, you're like, hey, how much of that did you clock? And they'd be like, oh, like 95%. And in reality, they got like 60% of it, right? They got the general gist, but I think they probably miss a lot of what was really in there.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I do it, a lot of times if I notice something has happened, I will go back a bit. I'll pause and go back a bit. Or sometimes I'll even just pause and just keep flip-flopping. But I've got this thing now. It's bad, right? I've had this for probably about 1.5 years now, and it's really bad.
Call it ADHD.
Yes. It's bad in ways. I can't do work, right? Or do any chores or anything without having something playing on the background.
Right.
It's like conditioned now.
Yeah.
Apart from, with the only exception being, if the work I'm doing involves either listening to or recording any form of video, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, then I'm watching that.
You're not watching Netflix on the other monitor right now as we speak.
Be. Maybe I should. Maybe that's the play. You don't know that I'm not, Isaac. If I keep looking at it, I've actually got you on this side, and I've got Netflix on this side, which is why I keep looking this way.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that doesn't surprise me. I think a lot of people are probably like that. I don't think I have this issue. Like, a lot of the time, I've got like a smart speaker in the kitchen.
Mm.
And oftentimes if I'm going to like put the dishwasher on or make some food, I'll ask my smart speaker to play Spotify or something.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time I'll sit there and I'll kind of just be in my own thoughts about it. And it won't be till I'm like halfway through preparing a meal that I realize I've not asked it to put music on. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll just be thinking about something, whatever it is, intently. And I forgot about it. And I also, I really dislike whenever, I don't know, sometimes you ask to put, sorry, I shouldn't say it.
You have to beep that out.
Sometimes I ask my smart speaker to play Spotify, and then just, you know, a song comes on and it's not the mood you're in. You know what I mean?
Right,
But I
okay.
don't want to have to stand there for 5 minutes, like either getting my phone out to pick a playlist that I actually want to listen to, or being like, hey, smart speaker, skip track. And then a new one comes on, it's still not the right mood, and you're like, hey, smart speaker, skip. And it's just like, so sometimes I'll just turn it right off again. I'm like, no, it's not for me, and I'll just do whatever
Just
I'm
get
doing.
on with it. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing though, I don't know if you have this. I cannot, like, I don't know. For me, my brain, I cannot type whilst audio is playing. Like, if I'm listening to music and or spoken video, I cannot focus on like typing out a passage of any kind. If an email comes in, unless it's very simple, you know, if you're like, hey, can you do 4 o'clock? I'll be like, yeah. But if I have to write a sentence or more, whether it's in Discord or whether it's like an email response or something, I'll go and I'll pause Spotify to focus in on what I'm doing, and then I'll replay it again when I've done.
Okay, I think this is where we differ, because
Yeah.
my reference to working pretty much always when something is playing, there's a lot of typing involved, a lot of kind of creation of materials and stuff. So I want to say that, yeah, I can type when spoken words is playing. I'm trying to think back, though. I think when I am communicating with someone, though, if I'm specifically emailing someone or messaging them on whatever collaboration software, right? I'm trying to think back. I might pause sometimes then. To form this more, because I have to concentrate a lot more, and then send it off and then go back to what I was doing. But then again, I also am very pausey with what I'm watching while working anyway. I pause whatever I'm watching a lot, which goes back to that double concentration thing and how I flip-flop between the two. But I can definitely type pieces while listening to stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Even, I remember in like high school, I had a friend who was like, you know, whenever he was doing any kind of revision, would always listen to music, and I cannot do it. If I am trying to like read and comprehend information, I cannot be listening to music at the same time. Like, it just doesn't, I can't do it, right? I'm okay with like background noise. Like, if there is incomprehensible noise, I'm fine with that. I know some people don't like, you know, loudness, but if the noise is incomprehensible, completely fine. But if I think like if I was at like an airport or a bus station, I could, you know, read and comprehend just fine. And I could, you know, write and comprehend just fine. But if we were stood in a quiet room and you were talking and I had to try and read and comprehend while you were talking like 2 feet away from me about something completely different, I would not be able to read and comprehend that information whilst you were talking.
Wow.
I don't think.
Okay, interesting. So the noise cancelling earphones is a good investment then.
Well, like, I don't think it would work right, because I think if you were stood next to me talking, the noise cancelling wouldn't really
You'd be able to hear it. Yeah,
right.
That's true. At least it would be quieted slightly. I'm trying to think, maybe. I hear a lot of background noise day to day because I live in an apartment and there's neighbours and people outside, right? There's all kinds of noise all of the time, and people blasting music and stuff. And I think that maybe living with that for a number of years has has conditioned me to tune that out, if that makes sense. So I've had guests before, and there's been like banging upstairs, right? Stuff clattering around. I think they've got a wooden floor, so you hear like the footsteps and stuff. And they're like, "Isn't this really annoying?" And I say, honestly, I don't notice it. I don't notice it anymore at all. And I think that might contribute to my resilience to that kind of thing. Although in saying that, there isn't a lot of spoken words that I can hear. But there is always a lot of music.
It's always the case, right, that whenever somebody who doesn't live in an apartment goes to somebody's apartment, that person always has like a tap dancer who lives above them with wooden floors, right? Like it's just every time.
Oh my God, I could go on a massive rant about the people who live upstairs. There's been, since my tenure living here, there's been, I want to say 3 different tenants in the flat upstairs, right?
Yeah.
Number 1, I think there was so many people living there in a 2-bedroom flat that I think they were like kicked out because it was actually illegal, like because the property wasn't the property wasn't registered as a home for multiple occupations. So that was they got chucked out. Then there was a couple, fantastic, lovely, didn't hear anything, and then now there's another couple. I don't know what they're doing. I honestly, the amount of times where I've considered like putting a note outside their door because it's directly above me, so I know I would know which door to go to, and being like, "Hi, please, the sounds are being transferred to the surrounding apartments. Please can you refrain from." Like, it sounds like they're deliberately throwing stuff at the floor at like 1 a.m, right? It's ridiculous. And there's like running around, like there's like there's no children living there, not that I've seen anyway. At all kinds of hours. 6 a.m the other day, I woke up, I was like, what is going on? This is crazy.
Someone's throwing toasters at the
honestly,
floor.
It's ridiculous. And it's a nice flat. Like I can see from where I walk in, there's this like it seems well kept. But I don't know what they're doing. It's ridiculous. And but weirdly, right, only between, I want to say, Monday and Thursday, right? Every weekend, nothing. It's like they don't exist. So I'm really interested in the lives of these people, right? Because they seem to be like either living there for only a few days a week and then going somewhere else, or they like go into some kind of hibernation mode, right? The second half of every week. It's so interesting, but the previous tenants, the bajillion people living in there, there was a lot of clattering, and I think that's when I just got accustomed to it. But then there was a break, and now it's back. So I'm feeling it.
I've never lived in an apartment, so I don't have the experience here. If you were to leave the note, would you just leave it anonymous? Is that what you're thinking, or would you wouldn't be like, respectfully, your downstairs neighbor? You wouldn't be like,
Isaac, the amount of times I've thought about this note, I could list it off. I could tell you exactly how it goes right now. I can tell you which font I'd put it in. Comic Sans, obviously. I'd be like, hi. I'd be very friendly, right?
Yeah, super
I'd be like,
friendly.
Hi. Just wanted to let you know that there are loud sounds being transferred to the surrounding apartments, right? I don't want to make it too obvious which one it's coming from. Please, can you refrain from kind of, dropping anything, or just basically telling them, by the way, I at least can hear this, but obviously I'd be like, we can hear this, because I want to make it a little bit, a little bit less obvious. And then I just be like, this will be much appreciated, smiley face, thank you.
Sure.
Blue tack, A4 paper, sorted.
Have you ever had a note? Have you received a note like this?
I have never received a note. I received a phone call once from building reception saying, hi, hope you're enjoying your party that you're throwing right now. By the way, would you mind closing the window, because it's basically just noises going out. I think it was like 11 p.m. And I think there was a lot of like talking and loud chatter. So I was like, cool, no problem. And it was summer, so I had the window open. So I was like, yeah, cool, no worries, shut it. And they were like, oh, it's not just you, it's not just you. I was like, it's definitely just me. Closed it. I have also had neighbours, not the upstairs neighbours, but different neighbours in line vertically with me who have like, I've seen in the general communal areas the next day, and they were like, oh, did you have a good party yesterday, or like, did you have a good time? And I was like, yeah, thanks. But because I don't do those kinds of things frequently, I think they don't really care.
Every Friday,
it's not every Friday. Yeah, exactly.
I'd be interested, I guess, to see how your downstairs neighbors feel about you, right? Like how they would describe your endeavors. Like, do they think you're just throwing stuff at the floor all the time? Are they like, this guy, you know, he's always, I hear faint mumbling all the time at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Right. I've wondered this many times. So the first thing is that the sound isolation in the apartment complex where I live is really good. Like, I can play quite loud music in the kitchen, go to a bedroom via the corridor, and as long as all the doors are shut, I can barely hear that there's music playing in the kitchen. Definitely can't hear any dialogue, and I've never heard any voices come through from upstairs or downstairs, apart from when there was a baby once, and it was screaming his lungs out.
Super high frequency
3 a.m. when everything was, dead quiet. I think that was the only time I've ever heard voices. So it's really good. Now, the upstairs neighbours, from the sounds that I can hear and the way the sounds come through when I think things get dropped, they've got a wooden floor, and I think that really doesn't help things, right?
I see. You got carpet.
I've got carpet. So all of my walking around, if I drop stuff, all of that kind of deal, I don't think anyone can hear anything. Yeah, exactly. The only exception is the area where my kitchen is, because I have a large living space. The area where the kitchen is linoleum, so it's kind of squidgy anyway, okay. Right? It's like vinyl, right?
Yeah,
a vinyl floor. So
is linoleum like a sponsor? Is that
I don't know if they're a company. I have no idea if linoleum is like a material, like a brand material, or or not.
Yeah,
I don't think it is,
I've never heard linoleum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, lino. Sure, okay. I've heard people say lino. Okay, I had no idea it was short for linoleum.
Yeah. Lino flooring.
Materials such as solidified linseed oil, pine resin, ground cork dust, sawdust, and mineral fillers such as calcium carbonate.
Oh my God. I didn't expect it to be made out of that.
It's just like landfill.
Yeah, basically. Well, at least it'll be good for the environment. Oh gosh.
Makes sense,
so that's fine. The bathrooms are fully tiled, but then I'm not stomping around in the bathroom. I've been told many times that I'm a really quiet walker. Like, I'll go up to someone and I'll be like, hi, and they'll be like, ah, and I'll be like, what? I was just walking normally. And they're like, no, you're really quiet when you walk. There's been multiple situations.
I've never been complimented on the silentness of my stems.
This happened more than once in many different places, right? I've been in houses, I've been here, I've been in my family home. People always say, oh my God, you scared me. And I'm like, what? I was just walking. I wasn't ninjaing around. So I think that also helps, right?
Yeah.
I have also always wondered how much sound transfers when we do this, because I naturally speak quite a bit more louder when we do this, right? And I have always thought, especially when I shout something, does that actually go upstairs or downstairs? But I'm not sure. I have no idea. I want to say no.
When a creeper walks up to you in Minecraft and you go, what?
Yeah, exactly. I think that maybe at a stretch is heard, but then those are always at sociable hours, right? So I don't think
we don't record it at like 3 a.m.
Exactly. So I think we're safe in that department.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think I'm a good.
Sure.
I'm a good boy, Isaac. I'm a good boy. Yeah.
I also, Nick, finally finished the latest season of Black Mirror as well. I don't know if you've seen this, season 6.
I have.
Of Black Mirror.
Yeah. I have seen it.
What did you think, man? So, but before you answer, I guess, I went into this, because I was a little delayed in watching it, my girlfriend had not seen any of it. So we watched the whole season, start to finish, right?
Nice.
Like, we've been working through it slowly over the last month or whatever since season 6 came out. And so a lot of my friends and family finished it before I did. And the general response I got was that, like, they didn't like it. They thought it was kind of meh. They didn't really love it. And so I'm interested, Nick, what you thought of season 6.
Okay, season 6. So, Beyond the Sea, very good.
Yep.
But I thought the ending could have been better. Right? Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Loch Henry,
yep.
Very good. I think those two are my joint favourite. The one with... the one where they ripped off Netflix, basically.
Sure. That's called Jonah's Awful, yeah.
That's the one, Jonah's Awful.
Well, so I noticed on that one, right, in previous seasons of Black Mirror, I think they have mentioned Netflix by name. But this time around, they renamed it to, like, Streamberry. They gave it, like, a generic stream name.
And I watched it. I watched it at the beginning. I was like, why are they doing this? Right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, as the episode goes forward, I was like, oh, okay. That's why they've changed the name of the streaming platform. Oh, dear.
I quite liked that episode, though. I thought it was
good.
That's the starting episode, yeah.
It was very kind of like self...
referential, I guess, or like
exactly,
self-aware. Yeah.
Exactly. And then
the last 2 episodes are there's Maisie Day, which is the episode with the paparazzi lady, which I thought was the weakest of the season.
Same.
I didn't really love it.
Yeah.
And then I actually really liked Demon 79, the last episode of the season. I thought that was a good end to the run.
I quite enjoyed that as well. I really liked the scenes and settings, like the style of the whole thing. It was like 19 kind of like 60s, 70s, wasn't it? Yeah, exactly. I liked the cinematography from that and the just like the sets and stuff. I didn't hate that one either. I thought it was quite fun, but it wasn't very Black Mirror, right?
That's the thing that I think a lot of people that I talked to. So I really liked the season. I thought it was a great season of television. I think it's like, again, having watched all of the seasons through, I think season 6 might be one of the most consistent. You know, seasons like 2, 3, 4, and 5 all have good episodes, but some that are like, I think, worse. Whereas I think season 6 might not have any of the super highs or super lows, but I think it's definitely more consistent. But I do get what people are saying when they say it doesn't feel like as Black Mirror-y as some of the other seasons.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. I thought it was a great season. I agree with you that Loch Henry, Beyond the Sea, good episodes, great episodes. Beyond the Sea, it's a bit of a slow burn, but I think it's good. I do agree that Loch Henry might be my favorite episode of the season. It's just good. I really liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I agree. Loch Henry was the best one. Beyond the Sea would have been great. I had an idea in my head of how the end would go, and it didn't quite. I think the ending was very rushed. Like it was all of a sudden, this happens. 3 minutes of TV done. That's it.
Yeah, sure.
I think they could have played that out more and developed that a little bit. Obviously, that costs money, but I think it would have been rated better. If they did flesh the ending out a little bit more, like 10 minutes more, right? Not much, 10 minutes more, with maybe a little bit of a plot change as well. But I thought it was. I
do know what you mean. It and maybe they're going for that because it feels like a bit of a slow burn all the way up to the end, and then it's just like bang, done, end. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, it's over. Okay.
Yeah.
Which maybe is like I said, maybe that's what they're going for, but who knows? Definitely a star-studded season. Like they've definitely paid a lot more to have. I don't know if they paid more or if like just more actors are more interested in being part of the season. You know, part of the series. But like especially like episode 1, Jonah's Awful, has got so many cameos in it. It's wild. So
it's quite interesting actually because I know of someone who acted in that episode, right?
Oh yeah.
Friend of a friend. And so I got a little bit of intel about that whole thing because I also noticed...
know Annie Murphy?
Pardon?
Do you know Annie Murphy?
Oh, I wish. The person who I know acted in it was a smaller part. I will say that. It's all about the agents, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I realized, because I also noticed, so this conversation about this is spawned from when I watched the Barbie movie, and I noticed the Barbie movie had so many characters from the TV show Sex Education in it.
Sure.
And I was like, whoa, like it was like an abnormally high amount of people who act in Sex Education were in the Barbie movie. I think it was 3 or 4. So then I was asking my girlfriend, who knows the person who acted in Black Mirror. I was like,
right,
do you know like what's behind this? And she was like, oh yeah, basically it's just all about the agent. Like the agent will have had some tie into this movie, and so will have got all of these people together into what auditions and getting the parts and stuff like that. So I imagine an agent with multiple famous people might have had a tie-in to Black Mirror season 6, right? Yeah, and then so basically then Netflix and then would have gone back and forth and got all these people in. But you are right, it was very star-studded, especially with the Aaron Paul one. I was like, wow, that was right. I was like a pretty because that was full protagonist as well.
It was, and that was like I think the longest episode of the series. It's like an hour and a half long or something.
Yeah.
And the thing that baffled me is that like the whole I'm going to spoil that episode a little bit. The premise of that episode is that there were 2 guys who were in space for a long time, right? And they have like these like little brain links to fake bodies on Earth, right? So they've got like these fake human bodies of themselves on Earth, but they're not like real humans, right? They're robots. So they have like these robot lookalikes on Earth, and then up in space they can just go to sleep and kind of wake up as the human robots, right? And spend time on Earth as their human counterparts, and then they kind of occasionally go back to space, you know, eat, do some maintenance, work out, make sure the bodies up there don't decay, all that kind of stuff. And my first thought was like, oh, this is going to be like an Aaron Paul cameo situation where Aaron Paul goes to sleep and then wakes up as somebody else on Earth. But they didn't. They paid him for the whole episode, right? Like he's in so much of that episode. He's like the main character. And I really thought it would just be like Aaron Paul goes to sleep and then somebody else wakes up, you know, and he's maybe in it for all of like 8 minutes at the beginning and end or something. But no, they did. They went all in on it, man.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Enjoyable. Apart from that, you know, man, I've not been watching any TV really. I haven't been watching anything. I did. So I went to Harry Potter World last week. I don't know if you've been.
Wait. Is Harry Potter in the UK?
It is. It's in Watford, near London. There's a big Warner Brothers studio there. Oh, I
had no idea it existed.
That's where a lot of Harry Potter was filmed. A lot of the inside shots of Harry Potter and is it the Forbidden Forest, I want to say? A lot of it was shot in this studio in that area. I forgot the exact name of it. It had a name, but it was basically a Warner Brothers owned studio near London. And it's freaking massive. I could not believe the scale of this place. So basically what they did was they filmed through all of the Harry Potter scenes in this studio, and then they took a lot of the sets and preserved them and then turned it into a tourist attraction. But when I say they took the sets and preserved them, they really these are the full scale sets, right? So I assume you've watched Harry Potter / read the books.
I've seen it, yeah.
So the entire Great Hall preserved, along with, I think that a lot of that was also potentially filmed in Oxford University. But they had the room preserved. They had Gringotts Bank in its entirety preserved. I thought that would be a green screen job. So they had that preserved. It was amazing.
I think it's too early, right? Like, if you watch the movie, I think it would have been very obvious if it was a green screen effect, especially in 2004 or whatever.
I think it might have been 2001, or maybe even 99. Because
I think the final film is
the final film was like
2007. What's it, 2010?
Yeah, I want to say 2010 because I think it was when I watched that on a plane, definitely. And I really need to watch Deathly Hallows Part 2 again.
I want to say that the first movie might be 2001, but like the first book might be like 99 or something.
Yeah, I think it is 2001. But they had spoiler alert, they had the 2 versions of Gringotts Bank, right? In its entirety.
22 years old.
22 years old. To be fair, okay, if this spoiler affects you, you should have watched the movies, all right?
if you've gone 22 years without watching the first Harry Potter movie, you know, it's on you. We're not going to watch it. It's on you.
Yeah, exactly. They had the whole of Gringotts Bank, and then they had the whole of Gringotts Bank in its destroyed version from the final films, which is really interesting. And you just see the level of like craftsmanship and detail that goes into everything, because these are just teams of hundreds of people who go to auctions, who go on eBay, they buy all of these like things that they think will help with the sets, and they just kind of, every little piece of it is like fine-tuned. It was insane.
That's the thing, right? And I think it's something that you miss in modern movies, because you are right, these days they'd VFX all of it. They wouldn't bother with any of it, right? They get digital artists and they'd VFX the whole thing, right? And like you hear stories. I watched an interview of like somebody who worked on like old animated Disney stuff, and they talk about just like sitting in a room and spitballing ways to come up with like sound effects, right? They'll get like a brown paper bag or something, or they'll get like a pen and they'll tap it, or like trying to think of different ways, unique and interesting ways of coming up with like the sounds of leaves or the sound of like a twig breaking, whatever it is, right? Which I just don't think you get anymore, right?
No,
like obviously you do to an extent. Some movies do that, but a lot of the time they'll just VFX the whole thing, and sometimes it looks so bad.
Artificial, right? Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like it was even things such as so one of the sets was the potions classroom, right? And they had all of the potion bowls with smoke coming out of them with the little stirrers moving in the bowls. Like they made those. The door in the Great Hall with loads of different mechanisms that twist and turn. Real. They had it, and it was like moving actively in front of everyone. So it's so cool that they have that. And then one of the most impressive things was they had I want to say it was like a 1 to 50 or 1 to 100 maybe scale model of the entirety of Hogwarts. And they take a camera on a little spider cam, and that's how they get all the shots of Hogwarts, all the external shots. They built a full-blown, it was really big, the scale model, and they have to update it for every movie. And they had the camera kind of going in all these, and it was all like little LEDs in the windows and stuff like that. And they have the camera go like past all of the different parts of the buildings that they want to get shots for. And it's just things like that, right? You'd think would be VFX'd, but it's actually
it makes
real.
Sense, because like obviously the castle exists, but I imagine 2001 is pre like advanced drone tech to where you could like strap a camera to a drone and just have it do a pre-programmed flight path, right? And so I guess you got to get creative with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was super impressive. Would recommend. It was interesting as well. So first of all, we booked it 3 months in advance, and so we went on a certain day of the month, right? And 3 months prior, we were looking. I think we booked it on the same date in that month. So like call it the 20th, right? And it was literally booked exactly 3 months in advance. And it was as in, if we didn't book it on that day, the date we wanted would have been gone, right? So it was really, really busy. School holidays probably played a big part in that as well.
Yeah.
Because there was quite a few kids and younger people about. But it was really impressive. We had a time slot, right? You have an entry time, but you don't have an exit time. I thought that was quite interesting. You don't ever get told to be, you don't get kicked out. So if you go in the morning, you could theoretically spend your entire day there. We went in the evening. We went at about 5 o'clock. So we spent 3.5 hours in there, but we could have spent longer. I think we would have got kicked out at like 10 or 11. But I thought that was quite interesting. And one of the things that they said at the beginning was that earlier in the day, they had a couple there who celebrated their 70th visit.
That doesn't surprise me, man. That does not surprise me.
And apparently the record is 150.
Wow.
I know. And I'll tell you, man, that wasn't cheap. I think it was like 60 quid a ticket.
I honestly thought it would have been higher. Like, I feel like you could knock 150 out in a year. Right?
100%.
I'm surprised that like it's not higher. There were some dedicated Harry Potter fans, man.
You reckon 150?
So I'm really surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true, especially if you live close by. But then what's 150 times 60? I mean, not that there's not whales out there who would do it. But
that's the thing, right? People pay for anything, man.
So $9,000, I think.
You know, to go back to your previous point, though, man, I hate the like overuse of green screen in movies and TV shows these days. You see it so much, and like it just looks so bad. I was watching the newest season of Ted Lasso recently, which is good television, but Ted Lasso is a TV show about this American dude who comes on. He runs a UK football club, right? And so a couple of the like scenes are just like actual football matches, right? And so the camera will like switch to one of the coaches, but he is clearly stood in front of a green screened audience, a green screen like stadium of people, right? And it just looks bad, right? You know, when, like a normal camera has like that smooth transition of like bokeh, right? Where it's like not very aggressive bokeh, like the closer to the character, and then as it gets further away, the bokeh gets real aggressive, right? You get these giant bokeh balls as it blurs out, right? But with the green screen, it's just the character, and then directly behind him is just these massive bokeh balls, and you can see like the softness around the character as a whole, and it just and they don't get the skin tone right, you know? Especially like with certain characters, they'll pan the camera and they'll just look when the lighting just doesn't match up and it just looks out of place, and it irks me, man. It rips you right out of the immersion. I dislike it tremendously when they do it. I mean, I get not paying a whole stadium's worth of people to be in front of him for that one scene, but at the same time, it's just it's really not a good look.
Well, I hope you're ready for that to get a lot worse. Because the next generation, generation of VFX is coming, and it's AI, right? It's just going to be people typing in what they want, and it will spit out something a little bit broken, and they'll be like, "Yeah, use that." I'm not confident. The tech for VFX, you will get better, right? Like that will get better, but then there's this like double-lined axes graph, right, of how much better VFX is getting versus like the easiness of just using AI and the cost savings from it, especially with everyone in Hollywood striking as well. Yeah, people are kind of thinking, oh yeah, let's use this as
the writers gone.
I was going to say that a lot of people are saying let's use this as a reason to then start to use AI for the writing and for the VFX and the acting and stuff as well. Because I know some big actors and actresses have had their likenesses portrayed by AI to an extent, right? We saw it like many years ago when it was required for scenes of people who died. I think the most famous one was the Fast and Furious one with Paul Walker, right? With the one of the movie that had him with the two cars like splitting on that road. I think that was like the first like, whoa, like that's like a major thing. But like now, I think the tech's pretty good, but it's not, it's like consumer good, not movie studio good, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, you are right. I think like, the writers are on strike at the minute, and then I keep reading stories nonstop about like VFX artists wanting to unionize because they are just like worked to the bone, just like ground into dust. Digital artists are non-stop. Like it sounds horrendous. I don't envy them at all. But
yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because every single like scene of every single show is like all VFX now, right? Everything Marvel puts out is just all, and Disney, I guess to an extent, just in general. It's just that there's such a demand for VFX. It's crazy. It's madness.
Yeah, absolutely. So my goal, right, 2 months before I went to Harry Potter World was to watch every single Harry Potter movie. It came to the weekend before, and I was like, right, I'm going to watch every single Harry Potter movie this weekend. It then got to the day before, and I was like, right, can I watch every Harry Potter movie in one day? I got through 2. And I had to give up. But that is the only thing I've watched. Man, that's the only thing I've watched.
You've seen them before, right? Like, this is just a recapping of them?
I have, which was fine, right? I have seen the movies before. I've read all the books as well. So I've got quite a good idea of the whole thing. Yeah. And also when I got there, scenes and sets and pieces from movies that I hadn't watched immediately prior to going, I was like, it was like a memory unlock, right? I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I remember this. And I was like, oh, I remember this. Dumbledore's office was quite a cool one because I didn't see that in 1 and 3. But
you watched 1 and 3?
I watched 1 because it's the first one. 3 is my favorite, so I then watched 3 because I was like, right, I've got a slot for 1 more. I kind of know what happens in 2. I'm just going to watch 3. Screw it.
Interesting. People.
I was like you. The first Harry Potter movie I ever watched was 5, right?
Right.
But yeah,
I think I watched them in order. I don't know, but there's a surprising fondness for 3. I don't know what it is about 3. Like, to me, it doesn't stand out as being like a particularly great movie compared to the other movies. But people seem to love number 3 for some reason. Like, you're not the only person who said that to me. I've heard a lot of people be like, 3 is my favorite of the 8 movies that are available, which is interesting.
Interesting. I don't know what it was about 3. There was a lot of things that I liked about it. I think also that's when Harry Potter became really dark.
It got so dark,
really dark as you advanced through.
Yeah,
and I think 3...
Well, it got darker than... Compared to the first episode is definitely like a children's movie. Right?
Yeah,
the first movie,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to 6...
Number 3 is there's a werewolf who, like, a human who transforms into a werewolf who's, like, breaking out of his skin, and, it's definitely a change in scenery. I
think 3 was the best mix. I think maybe that's why it's my favourite. It had a lot of light-hearted moments.
I see.
A lot of fun stuff. But then it had that element of darkness as well, because that was when all the Dementors got introduced as well. So I think that might be why.
You're thinking the future movies kind of lean just a bit too heavily into just everything's dark and despair, and there's not enough like levity to the whole movie.
I think so, yeah. Especially, but maybe just from the movie perspective as well. It's interesting. There's a Harry Potter TV show coming in a few years.
Yeah, I think I've heard this. Yeah,
yeah. Which is
it HBO?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is HBO. Yeah. So
yeah, I think that's true.
I want to have high hopes. Especially because I prefer TV shows to movies, and because I've read the books as well, they're so much more fleshed out, because you've got hundreds and hundreds of pages. I think Order of the Phoenix, which was my favorite book, more than 600 pages, right? Yeah, it was like 650. I think it was near 700. So you just get so much detail. Hopefully they can convey more of the books into the TV show that ends up on HBO. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes across, especially with different actors, right? It's going to be really weird watching Harry Potter with different actors, but it'll be nice to have like a bit of a new take on it.
It's going to be weird to us, but I think we're just old men. Again, the fact that the first movie is 22 years old is staggering. Right? I mean, I guess it's time for there have been other franchises that have rebooted substantially faster, right? I'm actually surprised it's taken this long to get to the point where I'm surprised they're not making more movies. I'm surprised they've not committed to like a 7-movie reboot, honestly, right? Like, that must be something that like maybe Rowling doesn't want to do, right? Like, maybe she's happy with the current movie setup, because I'm sure Warner Brothers want it like badly, right? With Marvel and Disney dominating, I'm sure they want to milk what they've got for all it's worth. And the fact that the fact that there's not a ton of stuff in this like Harry Potter universe, I'm sure is something that WB are not happy with.
They had Fantastic Beasts, didn't they? But that didn't take off so well.
Yeah, I guess.
So maybe they're putting it. No, neither. I haven't seen any of them. So maybe they're putting their eggs into the TV show basket, which is interesting. Who knows? Could be the next Game of Thrones. Could be the next, I don't know, The Idol. We'll have to see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. But yeah. One of the things, Isaac, that you informed me of on your week of illness was a new Pepsi Max flavour.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor at all. Sorry, cola-based flavour that claims they're sweeter than other cola brands. I just got a photo from Isaac with the words Pepsi Max Mango on it. And I think I opened it the next morning. I was like, interesting. I'll put this on my shopping list. For people who have watched us for any lengthy period of time, and Isaac himself will know that I've had terrible luck with acquiring limited flavor edition drinks. Whenever there is something new, Isaac tries it, and then I say, "Oh, cool, I'll get that for the next time we record." I end up going on like a 2-hour side quest, right, to go and find these drinks. I end up going to all of the major supermarkets. None of them have it. Then I end up walking into town, and then I end up at some random co-op, right, or WH Smith, and it will be there. It's bizarre.
It's crazy because I never hunt these out, right? I never go out looking for these beverages. I don't know if it's just because I live in a less populated area. Maybe they don't sell out as fast. But like, I walk into a store, I'm like, oh, they've got they're advertising a new flavor of whatever it is. I pick it up and I'm like, hey, Nick, have you tried it? And Nick's like, I'll go find it.
Yeah, it's nowhere. It's desolate. So I don't know. Maybe it is to do with that. But it's really bizarre that it's not in the bigger supermarkets. But this one, I went to do my grocery shop. I had this flavor of Pepsi Max on my list. Went to the place I usually go to grab a bottle, right there. I was like, oh, beautiful, fantastic. So I got it. Here it is. I tried it by accident yesterday when we were, or a couple of days ago, when we were doing a game stream, and I had it ready, thinking we were going to do the podcast. And then I said to Isaac, I won't try it, right? And then I muscle memoried it because I'm so used to picking up the glass that's in front of me and drinking its contents that I just did it. But I said that I would purge the flavor from my memory, right? So I've done it, okay? So, for context, Isaac, obviously, given the story that I've just told, has tried this.
I have, yes.
Okay, so I'll try it, and then I'll give you my thoughts, and then you can either concur or disagree, right? So bottoms up, everybody. I've been waiting an hour to do this so I can actually just drink more caffeine.
They come out with a lot of flavors, man. Pepsi Max. Like,
they do,
you don't see many Coke flavors, but they have like, they've had ginger, they've had like strawberry, they've had like lime, they've had maybe like a raspberry. They've had like so many of these different Pepsi Max flavors.
Lime is all over the place right now. I saw lime everywhere. Yeah, which is
I think that was their last one. I think they're kind of switching to mango, maybe.
It's quite nice. It's definitely mango.
Yeah.
It's a bit peachy, you know. If someone told me this was Pepsi Max Peach, I would believe them. Fully.
I think it's fine.
I think it's fine.
I would not buy more.
I agree completely.
Is the thing. I think it smells kind of like almost like a mango sweet that I've had at some point in the past. It smells very, very kind of mango-y. I don't know if it tastes as much. I don't love the aftertaste of it.
It does smell very mango-y. You're right. It smells like a mango.
Mango-y. Mm-hmm. But for me, the initial flavor is quite nice. The aftertaste is less nice, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the aftertaste is a little bit
off-putting me, right?
Yeah, right. I'm gonna wash it down.
Ice cold vodka.
That's better. Yeah, that's the only way I get through these. When I did bring this stuff into the room, there was condensation around it as well. I promise.
For those listening on the audio format, Nick just held up a maybe like a 400 ml glass of clear, still liquid.
Yes, that looks like water, but isn't. That's like 10 pounds of vodka right there. It's been gone by the end of the episode. Oh, I gotta say, man, Cherry's the OG. What can I say?
I think they're trying to replicate the because cherry's like an evergreen flavor now, right, for Pepsi Max.
Yeah,
and I think they're trying to maybe catch gold again or something by having like another flavor. Because I imagine initially it was just like Pepsi Max, and then they were like, oh, we'll try cherry, and it took off, right? I do agree, cherry is great, but the mango, it's not it for me, man.
Interesting.
I'm not about the
I agree.
The mango life, and I love mango. Mango might be like one of my favorites, probably top 5 fruits. I love mango, but like the mango flavor in the Pepsi Max, it's not for me.
Are there many mango flavored things? I'm trying to think.
I don't think so. There's like tropical juice, which is like mango and pineapple, right? There's a lot of like cocktails that'll use mango as a flavoring for some reason. And then there's like some sweets and stuff, I guess, like, you know, usually like the kind of the Starbursty style stuff where it's like, you know, chewy, sugary stuff, I think usually has like maybe a mango flavor. But other than that, I don't really think there's a lot of mango flavored stuff. I don't really see like mango yogurts or anything, right?
No, you don't really see it on its own, do you? Which is interesting. Given that mangoes are nice and expensive as well.
But I think it's kind of a mellow flavor, is mango. Like if you eat an actual mango, it's sweet, but I think it's quite mellow. It doesn't have like the sharp aggressiveness that like pineapple has. Pineapple is like notably pineapple. Whereas I think even now, the fact that you've kind of almost mistaken it for peach, I think, you know, it doesn't have such a distinct and notable flavor that you're like, oh yeah, that's mango, right?
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Which I think is why it often gets bundled into like tropical, right? Even if it is just like kind of mango.
Yeah. Well, it's a good job I bought a 2-litre bottle of the stuff, isn't it?
I bought a 2-litre bottle. Like, when did I send you this message? Maybe like 2 weeks ago now?
So, yeah, but I think it was, I want to say it was last week. I think it was like a week ago, you know.
It was 7 days ago, yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've drank maybe a glass of it. I've got like
1.8
litres left.
I have a cherry Pepsi Max in the fridge, and I think I'll have that one from now on still.
Yeah, right.
Dear. Oh dear. I will finish this glass here. But I think that'll be my only one.
Yeah. No, I was not super into it. Speaking of trying new things, I mean, as I mentioned earlier in the series, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast episode, I was in Amsterdam the week before last, and my favorite part about going to any new country, going to any new place really, is just trying new food, right?
Yeah.
I love trying new food. I love like experiencing whatever they've got there. And Amsterdam's a really interesting place, right? Because it's a major city, so they have food from all over the world. You can get everything, right, in Amsterdam. It's a beautiful city, by the way. Really nice.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. But one of the evenings, me and my girlfriend went to this fairly fancy like French restaurant. Fancy where they had like 8 menu items. 4 of them were starters, 4 of them were mains, right? And you just picked one of each, right? And the menu item that stood out to me on the starter menu is one that we talked about before, Nick, and that is steak tartare, which, for those who don't know, is a beef made up of a meal made up of raw ground beef. So that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, usually the concern is that like you're going to get ill if you eat raw ground beef, which is not recommended. Like, it's not recommended you go to the supermarket and buy ground beef and then just eat it raw. I think if you're going to make steak tartare, I think you have to, the idea is that you take beef that you know to be good and fresh and then grind it then and there, right? And then eat it. Kind of how you can eat like a steak rare, right? You can cook it very lightly and it's fine. Or even blue if you want, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's fine. Whereas like ground meat is not recommended to be eaten just because it's been processed, it's been exposed to a lot more, bacteria and stuff. They make it in giant batches with giant machines, and you don't know how long it's been sat on the shelf for, and there's all kinds of stuff, right? But anyway, I went to this restaurant, and I don't know if I sent you a picture, Nick, actually. I'll send you a photo.
I haven't seen a photo. Yeah, let's have a look.
Of this steak tartare.
Because I had an immediate question, but it will be answered by this photo.
Oh, what's your question, man?
My question was, did it have a raw egg on top? Because many steak tartare dishes I've seen do. Yeah,
it didn't, actually.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know whether or not there was like raw egg incorporated in it or not, but you are right.
Maybe.
Usually like an egg yolk.
Maybe that's how they formed it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I assume it's in a circular shape. I guess I'm about to find out.
You are about to find out if the Discord on iOS doesn't have access to all my photos, and I'm trying to give it access to
same
to one more photo, and it's not liking it.
Yeah, every time I send you a photo, I go through this exact process. It's really annoying.
I'm like, yes, share that photo. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. I understand. Right, boom, and send. Look at that.
Okay, let's have a look.
And if you could tell the audio listeners what you see.
Oh, it does look very fancy. So, I'm looking at, it kind of looks a little bit like a ground beef patty that you would fry up as a burger. So that is lining the very bottom layer of the plate.
Smash burger kind of thing,
a smash burger, exactly.
It's not like a perfectly uniform disc.
Exactly. It's quite thin on the plate. And then on top are some, I want to say watercress, a little bit of radish, raw radish, and some crispy bits.
I have no idea what they are. They were tasty though.
Yeah, they look a little bit like an Indian snack.
They do, right? Like almost
I forget the name of. Yeah. With a little bit of, actually, like there's a little bit of sauce around the edges.
There's a few dollops of sauce, yeah.
Around I immediately thought that was the raw egg, but I guess it wasn't.
But like the meat, the raw meat itself was seasoned in some way.
Okay, so every time I've seen steak tartare, I've not tried it, but I've seen it a few times because other people have ordered it. It was in a perfectly formed circle, like a burger, with a raw egg cracked on top.
Usually just the yolk, right? They have like a raw egg yolk just kind of placed on top.
Just the yolk. Yeah, exactly. And I've always seen that and thought, My stomach's already sensitive. That would finish me off, which is why I've never had steak tartare.
Apparently, it's easier to digest, man.
No way.
Yeah, because I Googled it afterwards.
Really?
Like, I had a feeling it was safe, right? I didn't think they were going to sell it if it was I was going to get ill. But I was Googling it after the fact, like a few days after I got back. And yeah, apparently, like, it's easier for your stomach to digest the raw meat than the cooked meat. We would just obviously cook it because we don't want to die, right? So apparently it's, you might be fine. I can't speak to the raw egg. Again, I don't think I had one. But
yeah, interesting. And the other thing I've heard is that it's treated with lemon juice.
Sure, yeah.
Steak tartare. Was there a lemony taste?
Probably. It was delicious, by the way. It was very
that was
tasty.
going to be my next question. Yeah.
No, it was very nice. I really liked it. It was seasoned. I didn't like. It's been like 2 weeks now. I couldn't pinpoint the lemoniness, but I think it probably did have like a zing to it that was probably like a note of citrus in there for sure.
Interesting, because apparently, from what I've heard, that's how they also ensure that it's safe.
Yes.
Because the lemon juice kills the bacteria. I think that's what they do with sushi as well, from what I remember.
It's like a light acid almost.
Exactly. While also enhancing the flavour. That's interesting. What's the texture of ground raw beef like compared to cooked raw beef?
It's very soft, right? Comparatively. Right. The flavour is surprisingly not dissimilar. Honestly, it tastes like, if I blindfolded you, you might even say that it was just ground beef, like just soft ground beef. You might even know that it was. There's a chance you wouldn't know that it wasn't cooked. There is a little bit of like the fattiness that is definitely noticeable. Like when you cook ground beef, obviously the fat kind of melts. There's a better word for that, but you render the fat out, right? The fat renders out a little bit. If you throw like a packet of ground beef into a pan and cook it, you'll be left with like rendered fat in the pan, right? From where the fat has come out of the beef. And obviously when you eat it raw, that's still there. So it definitely tastes like more fatty, which is delicious, right? Because fat, tastes good. It has that kind of like almost, it's almost like a velvetiness that you don't get from cooked ground beef. But from like a base flavor standpoint, not including like the mouthfeel and texture, it's surprisingly similar.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I might try that sometime.
It's surprisingly good, man.
Yeah, I just need to make sure I'm not doing anything the next day, just in case.
Next week.
The next week, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm assuming. We'll say that didn't make you ill. We'll say it was the flights and the exposure to thousands of people.
My illness was like a respiratory infection. It wasn't like a
like a stomach
illness
bug or anything like
the
that.
stomach. Yeah. To be honest, man. So I had this as my appetizer, my starter, if you will, and then there was a few options as a main, but then one of them was like a sharing option, right? And that's what we ended up going with, because the sharing option was like cut to beef, and it was like this giant. It was beef, and my girlfriend likes beef. She likes steak. She likes it rare, and I was like, yeah, sure, sounds good, And so we got to order it, and it was quite pricey, and I'm expecting this kind of tiny bit of beef that we share that's going to be tasty, right?
Like
but
a fillet,
comes out,
almost.
Yeah, exactly. But what comes out is like the biggest piece of beef I have ever seen in my entire life, Nick. I don't know how you feel about steak in general.
I love steak. I'm a big steak fan. Yeah.
Nick, look at the size of this thing. This thing comes out between the two of us. It is seasoned to perfection.
My Lord.
And it is gigantic.
That looks fantastic. Look at the salt crystals on that.
That's what I'm saying. They seasoned that incredibly well. It came with a little side of like roast potatoes as well. It was fantastic, man.
Nice.
Could you describe for the listeners what you see on the
so
on the screen?
I'm looking at two photos. The first is a dark plate with it looks like a sliced bone-in steak with quite a bit of fat on it on the plate with a lot of salt cracked on top, and a little pot of some kind of sauce or gravy, I assume, on the side.
Yeah, I think it was like a tarragon gravy, is what they called it. It was just like a little gravy. It was tasty, yeah.
And then picture two is, like quite large roast potatoes, quite crispy with, I want to say ketchup and mayo is the two dips.
It was! I was so surprised that they came out with ketchup, because this is like a fairly fancy place. It was a fancy place. I felt sort of place as well, because I was not dressed for the occasion. And and when they came over, they were like, the waitress who came over was like, would you like any help with like the wine list? She was offering recommendations on the wine list, and I was like, they'd given us they'd given us like a cocktail menu and then a wine book, There's this like they had so much, and I didn't order wine. I ordered a cocktail because I'm like I'm not a wine expert.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, thank you. I'll just have the cocktail, please. And she was like, oh, okay, that's fine. But it was so much beef, man. We didn't finish it. Is the thing. Like, unfortunately, we were in a bit of a rush because we had like another thing planned afterwards.
Sure.
And I cannot describe, like, I don't know if the picture does it justice, like how much beef there is there, because we both really liked it, and I'm like, towards the end of it, I'm trying to force down this beef because it is so good, and I don't want to waste it, but at the same time, I just did not have the stomach capacity. It would have taken me like 3 hours to eat that much beef.
Right. I think the photo doesn't do it justice, because to me, immediately, it looks like a large steak. Yeah. But I assume that from the description there, it was quite a bit bigger than that.
Massive, man.
Yeah, it looks so a bit like a tomahawk steak. I don't know if you've ever had a tomahawk steak.
I've seen one, not had one.
A big ass steak. Yeah, I've same here. I've seen one, never had one.
Yeah, I think it's like a slice of. If you Google rib of beef, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think it's and I've had rib of beef before. I've made it at Christmas, but I think they've taken rib of beef and then just kind of sliced one of the bone. Yeah,
right. I see. Which is pretty hefty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was going to a steak. The best steak I've ever had was at a restaurant in Bristol in the UK, and it's one of those ones where they give you the steak raw and you cook it yourself. And it was quite a fancy restaurant. And I went with my brother, and I was like, okay, let's get these steaks right. And both of our favorites are ribeyes, so these were fairly expensive steaks, right? But being a fairly upmarket restaurant, we were like probably quite small. Similar mistake made. They bought them out huge, and we had 2 of them. And we were saying afterwards, after eating, we did manage to eat all of them because we weren't on a time limit. I had to drive 2 hours to get home, and I was feeling food
entering the meat coma. Yeah.
High heaven, right? But that was a similar mistake. We were like, we could have just shared that between the 2 of us. That's what you did.
Exactly.
You did that. Yeah.
It's because like a normal steak in the UK, if you go to the supermarket and you buy a steak, a standard steak is like 200 grams, right? And if you buy a large steak, it might be like 400 grams, right? I get the feeling that this piece of meat I got might have been over 1 kilo. It was so much beef. It was actually staggering how much beef there was there, right?
Goodness me.
It also came with like a salad bowl thing on the side, like a walnut salad or something, but it was also delicious. But man, I have never seen, and I had beef tartare to start with, steak tartare to begin the meal. So I was beefed out, man.
I'm surprised you weren't mooing after that. That was so much beef. Oh my goodness me.
So much beef, man. It was incredible.
Your iron levels.
It was good.
Your iron levels will be through the roof. If someone knocks you on the head, it will make a thunk.
I had to go back and I had to go find a gym and get that protein used,
Honestly, right? 100%. Oh my God.
Oh, and speaking of tropical earlier, another thing I tried in Amsterdam, I wanted to try to go to McDonald's, right? See what their differences were. And the first thing I noticed when I went there, they had the standard milkshake array, chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, but they also had a tropical milkshake as an option.
Oh.
At the Amsterdam McDonald's. It was surprisingly good, man. I really liked it. It was very surprising. Another thing I noticed, though, about the McDonald's there, Amsterdam loves their chips, right? They do chips and fries everywhere.
Phoebo, did you walk past many Phoebos? Like the fast food restaurants. They're the fast food restaurants, like a red theme, right? And I went to a few of them when we went last year. I went with a few friends, and you go in, and the all of the food is behind like lockers, and you pay, and then the lockers open, and you just take the pre-cooked food, right?
I remember you telling me about this. I did not see this, though, while I was there.
No way!
Surprising. No, I did not see it. But I did notice that, like, it must be because in Amsterdam, they got chips everywhere, fries everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think the common practice is to have them with mayo, right? They like dunk your mayo into basically they'll give you a cone of, there's a ton of small little outlets. All they do is serve chips. That's all they sell. And basically, you'll go up, you'll say, can I get like a small, medium, or large? And they'll give you like a cone, like a paper or cardboard cone full of chips with like a sauce of your choice. And usually it's mayo, which then I was less surprised, I guess, because I went to the McDonald's. And here in the UK, you don't get mayo at McDonald's. They just don't have it. But in Amsterdam, they had like these giant pots of mayo or like specific fry sauce, which was like, I can't remember the name of it, and I don't speak, the language of the Netherlands.
Dutch, yeah.
But it was like surprisingly pickly. I tried that as well. It was like a surprisingly pickly mayo-based dip that they had for the fries as well. It was like called frites sauce or something like that. But
interesting.
I was just surprised they had these giant like mayonnaise-based tubs of both mayonnaise and this fry sauce that you don't get in the UK, which I assume has to be due to the fact that the Dutch just really love their chips and mayo.
Yeah, that's probably it. Here you get the tiny pots of the rancid stuff, which we discussed last episode.
But they don't even sell mayo, right? There's no mayo at all.
No. Well, they had the
UK.
Chipotle mayo, but that's gone now. I think that's done. So yeah, clearly not popular enough, which is interesting because I think all the other places do it, right? Not KFC maybe, but I want to say Burger King does.
I think KFC might have like a buttermilk garlic mayo or something, but
yeah, you're right. You are right.
Here in the UK, I think it's just more of a European thing to dunk fries in mayo. I think if you were to poll the UK, a lot more people would either dunk them in ketchup or barbecue sauce or no sauce at all versus mayo, right? I think it's just less of a common thing here of just dunking stuff in mayo as like a dip. I feel like here mayo is used more as like a condiment on sandwiches and burgers and maybe in sauces, right?
Sure.
Which is crazy, by the way. Mayo is delicious as a dip. But
yeah. I know a few people who pick it any day over ketchup as a dip and will just dip everything in mayo.
It's so much worse for you, though. Jeez.
It's terrible.
It's
the funniest thing
horrendous.
is when I'm on the Five Guys Deliveroo, right? And it's like, choose your burger, and it's like, 850 calories. And then it's like, choose your toppings, and it's like ketchup, 4 calories, grilled onions, 12 calories, regular onions, 10 calories, and then it's ketchup, 130 calories. And I'm like, what? To spread some ketchup on my burger? And I always pick it, but
mayo or ketchup?
Both.
Oh, you said ketchup. You started with ketchup 4 calories, and then you said ketchup again. I assume you meant mayo the second time.
I meant mayo. Yeah. I meant mayo. Yeah, mayo.
No, it's like 150 calories or something. Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what? It's not even like they're giving me a pot of the stuff. No. They're just spreading a little bit on my burger. It's so crazy.
Bad, man. Well, it's like you'll see these little dips pots, right? And it'll be like ketchup, 23 calories, and then the same size pot mayo is again, it's like 130 calories, and you're like, oh.
You ever made your own mayo, man?
I haven't, no.
I have, and
it's just all oil, right?
It's just oil. It's just pure oil. You just whip. What did we make it in? I want to say we made it in my protein shaker, my automatic protein shaker, and you just pour more and more and more and more oil in. It's like 80% until it's whipped, and then you turn it off and you're done. I've made
a few like salad dressings, and I think they're very similar because like the few salad dressings I've made have been like 1 egg yolk, a bunch of different flavorings, right? Like I made a miso one that had like miso paste and sesame oil, but then you just pour in like 500 ml of like a neutral oil, and you have to specifically use like only 30 grams of what you've got for like a giant 2-person salad, because if you go any more, it's like you're eating more calories in dressing than you would have done in like any other than you would like a cheeseburger, and it's just not worth eating the salad anymore.
Exactly. You might as well just have something else. Yeah,
it's insane how calorie dense oil is. It's madness. This is not a food podcast, by the way, if you're wondering.
It's not. I promise. This is why my air fryer was a good personal health investment, because I don't oil pans, right? Stuff I cook in the pan, I don't oil the pan. I just chuck it in the air fryer and just go for it. I do have like the spray, like the oil spray,
the 1 calorie spray,
the 1 calorie oil spray, which I don't really believe. Sometimes I'll spray that in, but not often.
You've got to put like 0.001 newton grams of
you've got to
pressure to get 1 calorie.
This much, yeah, exactly. You got to twitch it, not push it.
Yeah, right.
Oh dear. I'm always quite intrigued by those because quite a lot of spray comes out, but then maybe they're right? Because it is just all spread out.
I was looking at the back of it though, and because I bought, we've got like, I think there's a name brand one, right? That
is what I think it is.
Is what I imagine you have.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks ago, I was in the supermarket and I bought, I was looking to get an olive oil version, right? Because I use olive oil all the time. And I was like, we could probably, use fewer calories if we spray the olive oil instead of pouring it in, right?
Sure.
And so I was looking, and there was the 2 brands. There was the name brand, and then there was like the supermarket own. And the supermarket own, the ingredients, extra virgin olive oil. That was the only ingredient. With the name brand one, it's only like half oil. The other half is like not oil, which I think is how they get the calories down. I think there's like a bunch of other stuff in there that like helps it spray more, because I bought the supermarket one thinking I want just extra virgin olive oil. It sprays like garbage. It does not come out well at all. It just kind of dribbles out as you. Yeah, it's so bad. Whereas the name brand one like really sprays out and covers a large surface area. It does of the pan. Does.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, that's really interesting. It's like the chili powder again, man.
Yeah, right.
It's not quite what it seems. That's very interesting. I don't think I've ever looked on the back. I need to have a look.
There's quite a lot of ingredients in there for what should just be oil, right?
Yeah, it's just supposed to be oil. Well, that's confidence inspiring. I think I might go back to not using any at all. just putting my food in there without any form of oil, which does come out not bad, to be fair.
I think it depends what you're cooking, right? The trouble is the oil just tastes really good, man.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? Because a lot of times I cook chicken in the air fryer. One time I'll decide to cook it in the pan, and I'm like, wow, this was amazing. It tastes so much better. Yeah.
I'm looking here at this Frylight Oil Man, and ingredients, rapeseed oil, which is canola oil, 50%. And then it's water, alcohol emulsifier, lectins, natural flavorings, thickener, xanthan gum. So it's only 50% oil. The rest of it, the other half is water, alcohol, emulsifiers, other stuff, which is probably how they get the calorie amount down, right? But it per spray is 0.2 milliliters. So the 1 calorie is per 0.2 mil of spray, which I cannot imagine is a full like aggressive pump that you would normally do. I've got to imagine that's more than 1.
I always thought it's like a little bit of a teaspoon's worth. And a teaspoon's what, 5 by definition? So yeah, my name brand one, it is olive oil. I deliberately seeked the olive oil one out. I wonder if the makeup of that is any different.
I see it right here, Frylight extra virgin olive oil, 1 cal.
That's the one.
It is extra virgin olive oil, 51%, water, alcohol emulsifier, sunflower, lectin, natural flavorings, and then xanthan gum again. So it's still 51%.
You reckon
extra
the 51% is just so they could call it extra virgin olive oil?
Almost certainly,
so over half. They've
almost
just tried,
certainly.
Yeah, as much as possible there. They've just gone over the tipping point to be able to call it that.
On 0.2 milliliters, that means you're going to get 1,000 sprays out of 1 bottle.
Well, I've had it for many months and I've not gone through it. So, I mean, I don't know how much is left in it. But
I mean, that's 1 spray a day for 3 years is what they're claiming.
That's quite a long time,
if it's
isn't it?
0.1 mil, 0.2 mil, sorry.
I don't spray 1 per day. I probably spray like once every 3 days. So this is going to be like a...
it's going to be 9 years, man. It's going to last you forever.
I'm going to be going into the 2030s with this.
Well, that's if you're using 0.2 mil, which, question.
That's true, which is TBE, to be experimented on. We'll have to try it, right? I'll have to spray some into a spoon and come back with my findings. Like a full
I've got a scale that's got like 2 compartments. One for like regular measuring or regular weighing, it can weigh up to 20 kilograms, and one that can only weigh up to 200, but it gives me weight to the nearest 0.1 grams. Like it does like a really fine-tune weighing. And so maybe I'll have to, because I think we've got some of the name brand stuff as well, I'll have to do one of my squirts into a container on the light one and see how much it
weighs.
Like, yeah, exactly. See if I get more than 0.2 grams worth, right?
Interesting. And then you could see you could weigh the bottle. Oh, would you be able to weigh? No, you can't weigh the bottle.
Like weigh it before and after. You could potentially weigh before and after, right?
Yeah. And then
weigh it, spray it, weigh it again.
Yeah, that's true, actually. And then you might be able to get like a weight per spray.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like you could put it on, you can zero the scale, take it off, spray it, put it back on, it'll go into the negatives, I think.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you sprayed 10 grams.
Get the milliliter from that. Yeah. The oil's just so dense, man. What can you say? Or maybe you just got really strong fingers.
Yeah,
gosh. It out.
I know. So like most of the time I try to be fairly conservative with the oil, but like when it comes to making like a Christmas dinner, man, I go through so much olive oil. It's not even funny. Like, I'm slowly killing people with the delicious food I make at Christmas, but there's so much fat in those meals, but they're so good. It tastes way too good, man.
This Christmas dinner, I think, was the first one. It was the first one that I made from the raw ingredients using a recipe box rather than buying it from a supermarket. And it was the first Christmas dinner where everyone was like, this is insanely good. But it was also the first Christmas dinner where I actually did feel a bit ill after eating it. And I was like, I don't want to eat anything with fat in it ever again. I want to go to bed. Because it was ridiculous, the amount of oil there.
You take like a bird of some description, usually a turkey, and then you see recipes and they're like, yeah, just coat that thing in olive oil. Just like rub it all over with salt. Those roast potatoes, dunk them in goose fat. Coat them swimming in goose fat is what you want, or duck fat.
That's it. But the Hello Fresh box, they said, pour olive oil into the baking tray that your potatoes will be in. And they said, what was it? 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters deep?
Deep, yep.
And they put it in the oven so it starts bubbling like a deep fat fryer. Pull it out, put the potatoes in, and then put it back in. So you're essentially like shallow frying these potatoes. You're not actually roasting them.
Not at all.
Yeah,
but then you got honey roasted carrots or parsnips, toss those in olive oil as well, get those in there. Yeah. Oh man. It's delicious stuff. And then you got mash, you got to fill that up with butter as well and then gravy. And it's too much, man, but it's fantastic. It's only one day a year, so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one day a year that takes off 3 weeks of your life, but
exactly. So at least you only have to celebrate it hopefully 80 times. Take away 260 weeks off your life, but it's worth it. All right. Oh God.
Yeah, man. It is. No. It's bad, man. Also, speaking of the Last of Us, man, earlier in the episode, I went for the first time in my life, Nick, to get my blood drawn the other day. It's not something I've ever had done. Like at least not in living memory. I might have had it done as a child or something.
Sure.
I've had my finger like pricked before, and I've like squeezed blood out that way, right? Like there's like at home tests that require like just you prick your finger and then you dribble it and then you seal it off. It's whatever. But the other day I went to an actual clinic and I had my blood drawn, man. And I want to say they did a pretty terrible job of it because they tried one arm, right, on my right arm. And she was like, I can't find the vein. I'm going to try your left arm, right? And my left arm, she found the vein and pulled the blood out. But this was maybe 2 days ago, man. And my arm currently looks like I've been bitten by one of the infected from The Last of Us. Right?
Oh my goodness me.
Look at this.
Holy
scenario
crap.
that is going
Oh my God. You're not joking.
Look at this. So this is where she took the blood out, right? There's like the little hole here. I have no idea what the heck this is. The whole thing looks kind of almost greenish, right?
Oh my
All she did was draw blood. I don't get it.
Oh, that is not normal.
I don't want to, if people are squeamish, I apologize. But as soon as I left, I had like a giant lump here, just below where she'd taken the blood. There was like a big lump of something. Right. I was like, what the heck is that? And I Googled it, and apparently it's somewhat normal. Like it wasn't like I had to go to the hospital straight away. And it went down. But like, it's been a few days, man. It just keeps looking.
That is a bruise.
Right?
This is someone punched you, right? Or you like fell over and landed on that area. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and they made me sign like this giant waiver before I got my blood taken, so I'm sure I have no rights in terms of complaining about it. But jeez,
that's
it doesn't
crazy.
Hurt. Like it doesn't feel anything at all, right?
Sure.
It just looks like I'm mutating slowly but surely. It's wild.
Yeah. That's nuts. I've had my blood taken quite a few times. I think I've had it taken twice this year. But every single time I've ever gone for a blood test, I've always been complimented on my veins. Like you can see here, right? And it's quite prominent in the part where they take blood. Like I can feel it. So I think I've just got very easy veins to find. Yeah. So they don't usually have problems sticking the needle in and pulling out.
She wasn't like fiddling around with it. It didn't take her long to get it out, which was surprising.
Right.
I don't know. But I'd also not been, like, this is my first time. I was not told of anything ahead of time. Like, I get there and she's like, after she failed on this one, which I don't have as prominent veins as Nick does, but after she failed on my right arm, she was like, have you drank a lot of water today? And I was like, no. She was like, oh, you should really, drink a lot of water to make the veins, bulge up a little bit and make them more easy to administer. And I was like, oh, okay, but no one told me this ahead of time, so I'd not done it. But But yeah, no, it was like it wasn't a painful experience. It was completely fine. It was just after the fact, I have a visual aid to remind me that I had my blood taken a few days ago.
Yeah. Well, at least you won't forget that. I think the only time where I've ever been bruised from a needle is the COVID vaccine. That was the only vaccine because I get the flu jab every year as well, and that's usually always fine. That was the first time where I ever actually felt sore. I felt like I got punched in the arm. I was like, oh, that was a bit weird. It went away after a couple of days. It's completely fine. But I think that was the only time. And I want to say there was no bruise. Maybe there was a tiny one. But I've been lucky with the old blood tests.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had like a bruise from like a vaccine jab or anything like that. But no, this one was just, my girlfriend keeps looking at it being like, what the heck is that?
What the hell is that? Yeah.
What did you do? What happened?
Yeah.
Did you lie? Did you say you had a blood test when really you were going to meet the mafia or something?
Yeah,
and they just, tried to cut your arm off?
Deal gone wrong. Oh my lord! Yeah, that is quite the bruise. You should audition, man, for the next zombie show coming out. You can be like, you'll save the makeup team a little bit of money, right?
I can just pull my sleeve up and be like, ah.
That is very fun. I've not been up to too much over the last few weeks, right? Like I've either been working or I've actually just been visiting people or being away. I haven't really done any like major things near home, but because I've been out and about, right, around the country, I have been kind of getting up to some activities and stuff, right? And I've kind of been walking about. I've been down south a couple of times. So I was on the coast, in a coastal city a couple of weeks ago, walking, probably about 11:30 p.m, right?
I thought you were going to tell me your speed, 3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Fast you're walking.
I don't need to. You already know it. 3 miles an hour. Hang on.
Yeah, I've got my team following you all the time. So
Yeah. Okay. It's the part of the protection benefits, right, that I get. So they'll have seen this too. And we were walking past. We were just kind of walking on a general high street, right? And walked past an Iceland, right?
Yeah, which is a store in the UK, not a country.
It is a store in the UK that sells frozen goods. Yeah. Now, about 30 seconds prior to us walking past this Iceland, we saw a guy, right, walking down a perpendicular street. Or I should say, like, he was doing what we call an NPC run. He had 2 bags of shopping in his hand. And he was, like, with his bags of shopping running like this. And we were just there, like, haha, like, he's just, probably in a rush to get his groceries home. And then, 30 seconds later, walking past this Iceland, and there was a little alarm going off, right? Like, looked over, front door, a classic shop front door, not one that, like the front doors that move, right? The sliding doors. There was just like a fox-sized hole in the bottom glass pane it looked like somewhat like a fox had like jumped through it, right?
Right.
And we looked at that and we were like, oh, that was quite like that's quite weird, right? And then we walked past it and not really thinking much of that. And then I was with 3 other people, and at the exact same time, we all had this realization. We were like, hold on a second. Has the guy we've just seen burrowed into Iceland and taken 2 bags of shopping and then burrowed out again? And then we were like, yeah, I think he has, right? We just witnessed someone rob a shop without really thinking about it. But then what we realized was no one else in this area reacted to it either.
Yeah.
It was a really bizarre experience. We were walking and we'd seen a guy running with shopping, not really thinking anything of it, then walked past a shop where clearly this guy is like, I don't know if he's smashed it with a hammer or what, but it looked like he'd burrowed in, right? And then burrowed back out again. Is the shop
open at the time?
The shop is closed.
Oh,
right?
okay. Well, right, okay, sure.
The shop is shut.
Right.
Sorry,
okay.
Yes, this is important.
I was going to say,
context.
right.
The shop is shut. So the doors are permanently closed. Right.
Okay, I understand.
This guy has burrowed in past closing time, got 2 bags of frozen goods from what it looked like, and then had gone back out the hole he'd created to go in, unless he got in a different way and then just burrowed out the front, which is not, I wouldn't advise it if you're going to rob a shop to leave via the front entrance.
Yeah, right.
Right? But then the thing is that when we walked past this Iceland, no one else was like reacting. There was quite a few people around. No, everyone was walking as normal. When they saw the guy running, people were just milling around as we were. It was just really weird. It was like we were the only people that had seen what had happened. No one else.
I don't know, man. That just might be the UK public, I feel like people are quite apathetic to crime, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's just been normalized. People,
but it's also
you
like,
just see it in videos as well of thefts and stuff happening. People just walk by because you don't want to get involved in it either.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you can't get involved, right? Like, the number of times you see a story, like, the thing is, you could try and stop the perpetrator, but for what cause? The best thing that happens is that Iceland get their food back and the person gets arrested or gets a fine or whatever. But worst case scenario is that, like, the person who you try to stop sues you for damage that you've done to them for some reason. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you try and stop them, they fall over, they hurt themselves, something like coming after you for it, and it's just like you don't need to get involved in it, right? Which is it's not great. The fact that that's like the world we live in, but I think
we were like, shall we call the police? And then we were like, probably not. Like, what are we going to offer, right?
Yeah,
and they've probably got the alarm probably contacted security anyway. And then the shop has CCTV, right? So it's not like we could have offered anything in addition, right? So, yeah, no, that was quite an interesting experience. But have you ever witnessed a crime or a theft? I think I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, but I've seen the person get thrown in the back of a police car, right? So maybe I've not witnessed the crime, but I've witnessed the arrest.
I've seen a couple of shoplifting endeavors. I've seen like certain people who I will not name that I've been there with them, and I'm not stealing the stuff. I'm not a shoplifter, but I've seen people like steal gum before, right? It used to be the case that like a convenience shop would have like gum at the front, and I've seen people just like pocket a thing of gum or whatever and walk out with it. But it's surprisingly common is shoplifting, especially for small items. It's not something that I've done. I'm too scared to shoplift, but even the smallest stuff. But yeah, you see some stuff, but I've never seen something as dramatic as somebody burrowing into a store and then running out of it again.
Yeah, that was definitely the most dramatic one. Another one is like public like cups, like at restaurants and cutlery. I think that's another big one I've heard.
People, there are so many people who will steal like a full-on glass or like a cup or something like from a restaurant, which is wild to me. Again, maybe I'm just too much of a goody two-shoes, man, but I could not, like, I physically I could, I guess, but like, I wouldn't. I would never like put
neither.
A glass in and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep this and just stick it in my bag or something. Like,
yeah, right. Because it's
not worth it.
No,
it's not.
It's like 50p. You get it 50p from like IKEA or Dunelm, right? So,
but people are like, oh, I want this. Like you'll see people who have like Weatherspoons plates in their home, and you're like, like, oh yeah, I really look at the plates. Yeah, exactly, right. They're like, oh yeah, I really like the plate, so I took one. I'm like, what? What do you mean you just took one? But yeah, people do, man.
The worst one I've heard from someone I knew was Christmas tree baubles off a Christmas tree in a public space. I was like, wow, okay.
Baubles can get expensive, man. That's not a bad idea.
This is the aim of this podcast is not to inform the public of crimes to commit. We take no action or responsibility for any crimes committed as a result of this podcast.
Any crimes at all.
Yes.
But
baubles are expensive. I think, have I ever told you about, I already have one set of baubles, right? I mean, I'll show you them near Christmas.
Like a set as in you have one set that has multiple colours, or they're all the same colour?
One set that has multiple colours, but they're all the same size, right? Probably the box. Well, so this was a few years ago, and the person I lived with, we were having a look, and we were like, oh, like there's these baubles on Argos, right? And we were like, wow, this is a banging deal. It's like 20 baubles for like £4. We were like, yes, please. We got like a cheap tree as well because we were like, screw it. It's just we both would go individually to our family homes for Christmas, and then so we just wanted like a little celebratory thing for hosting parties and stuff as well. It would be a nice little addition. So we bought this tree and these baubles, and this was during COVID restrictions. So we had to go outside the Argos, and you interact with someone outside the Argos. There's like a table in front of you with a person manning it. Yeah, right. So we went and we gave the order number or whatever it was. And then they came out with the tree, which was in, you know, a fairly large box. And we were like, yeah, cool. And they gave us the baubles and the box was like this big. And each bauble was absolutely tiny. And the amount of flack we got from friends visiting who were like, looks a little bit anemic. It got to the point where my mum felt so sorry for me that she gave me Christmas baubles from home. She was like, have this, decorate your tree with it. And that made it look better. But yeah, you are right. Baubles are quite expensive.
So you've got a tree that's got like no lights, no nothing, just a pack of like 20 tiny baubles.
It's got, we did have lights, okay? We did have lights, I'll give it that much. The wrapped a rope light around it. And a hat. It's got a woolly hat on top as well. Okay. And now that my friend who I used to live with has moved out, I put the woolly hat on still.
Right. I was just picturing just a bare tree, no lights, no hat, just little baubles on it.
I mean, no, we did put the lights on first, so there wasn't a scenario in which just the baubles were on it. But that would look really bad, especially because it's in a window as well. The amount of like people.
I'm picturing like these really small baubles that are made for like a miniature Christmas tree that you tried to hang on like
they're absolutely tiny. They're so small.
I see on the docket that we got shared here, man, that you've written petrol station etiquette, and I'm really interested in what this means.
Okay. So this one also so I was trying to think of topics today, and this popped in my head, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, I could talk about this because this happened a week ago. Been driving around a lot recently. Needed to fill the car up. I was driving back from dropping someone home. Right, it was about 11 p.m. Right.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was on my way back from home. Sorry, I was on my way back home. I needed to drive somewhere the next day. So I thought, okay, cool. You know what? I'll fill up now because it's quiet. I always like filling up petrol either at like 9:30 in the morning or 9:30 p.m. Right. Just because it's quiet and I don't have to wait in queues. So I rocked up at the petrol station. And for people who don't live in the UK, I know lots of the USA and Asia has this. You got to fill up your own petrol. You don't have someone doing it for you. As much as I would like that, you got to get out and fill your own petrol, right?
Yeah.
So I drove in. There was a couple cars waiting. So again, I assume petrol stations are like this worldwide, but there's multiple lanes with pumps on either side, and it's usually 2 cars deep, right? So there's a car at the front and there's a car at the back. And if the car at the front finishes filling up, the car behind the person at the back sometimes can like tuck in, can go round the person and go at the front.
A lot of times they just got to wait behind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to wait. Luckily in my petrol station, you can actually go round, which is exactly what I did, right? So I was waiting behind 2 cars, the front car left, so I then drove around the back car and tucked in at the front. Yes, so because luckily it was wide enough to do that. And then I reversed up, turned the car off, got out to fill petrol. I needed to full tank it because I'm doing a lot of road tripping this week. So I was filling, got up to about, I want to say about 7
pounds.
About 300 pounds.
Which is like a quarter of a tank.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, my God, Jesus Christ. It's painful. So as I started filling, the guy behind me finished, right? And he then went around me and he left, right? Car behind him then was starting to pull in. But then kind of turned. Kept turning, and then reversed into the petrol station bunk, right? So they flipped their car around and reversed rather than going forward, right?
So they reversed, so they're like facing the opposite way they would normally face.
Exactly. They are backwards. Their car is backwards.
Right. So basically, they're trying to, like, you're at a pump where your cap, your fuel port is on your, like, right-hand side, I assume? Like, yours is on the driver's side?
Yes.
Theirs is on the passenger side, and they've decided to reverse into this spot.
Yeah. So the way this works is European cars and cars where the steering wheel is usually on the left have their petrol fuel cap on the right, whereas Asian manufactured cars, and maybe even British, who usually have the steering wheel on the right, petrol caps on the left. I think that's why that is a thing. I could be completely wrong.
But wait, anyway. But your car has the petrol port on the same side as the wheel, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes.
But because it's German, the steering wheel's usually on the left, so they've...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So the
petrol
filler cap is... And I think it's meant to be so that the driver can get out while next to a fuel pump quite easily, but they don't bother swapping that around for the different markets, right?
Mine,
it would be pointless.
Mine is the same. Mine's a German car where the port is on the side of the driver, yeah.
Exactly. So then I was like, oh, maybe that's what they're doing. This car parked like 3 meters. They did not do a good job reversing. This car like 3 meters from the fuel filler cap. From the petrol filling bunk.
Yep.
The car was a Mercedes. So having reversed into the bunk, their fuel filler cap was now on the other side, right?
So what?
My only assumption is that they were drunk, right? Because then the passenger, because the passenger is now closest to the fuel filling pumps, right? The passenger got out, realized that the car was far too far away, and then got back in. This car then moved forward a bit to like reverse again, almost hit an Uber driver who like had to honk their horn at them, and then started reversing. I've never, so the way I paid for petrol is I used my card, right? So I put my card in before I filled the petrol up, right? This was the first and only time I've ever abandoned filling up my car. I was like, that car is going to reverse into me. I literally slammed the pump in, opened the door, closed it, pressed the starter button, handbrake off, in gear, out, right? My girlfriend, who was in the passenger seat, was like, are you all right? and then she was like, those people behind us were moving quite mad. And I was like, yeah, that's why I'm moving. We're done, right? So I'm going to fill up my car tonight because I don't have enough fuel.
I'm actually surprised. Oh, go on. I'll let you finish up your...
I was going to say, it then begged the question in my head. I was like, do people do that when, like, you know, normally? Do people ever reverse?
I have never, ever seen anybody reverse into a petrol station, a petrol pump spot.
Same.
I've also, the area that I live in, I've never seen a spot where you can, like, drive around. I've never driven around a car into the front petrol station slot, right? I've seen, like you said, the majority of petrol stations have 2 rows. I have seen my local supermarket has like 3 rows. So there's like 3 rows of it. The thing that irks me more than anything, man, is there'll be like 5 lanes. There's a few things that irk me, man, but there's like 5 lanes, right? Of 3. So like 15 pumps or whatever, right? And the far left say pay at the pump, right? But it's optional. You can go there, you can pay at the pump, you can choose not to. But people will go and they will, it's never that busy, right? I don't have this problem that you have where I have to time my petrol. Like, I never queue for petrol, right?
Okay,
I usually just turn up and drive in and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all quite empty. But
sure.
I will go and I'll be like behind 1 or 2 cars in the pay at the pump lane, and the person will finish fueling, and I don't like mean to stereotype, but they'll usually be like 106 years old, and they'll go and pay inside, and it takes like 40 minutes for them to go and pay inside. When I've finished, like, I got there after them, I got out, I filled the full tank, paid with my card, and I'm ready to go, and I can't leave because they're in front. And like it's worse when there's like a car at the very front and they've left, and then there's the person I'm waiting for in the middle, and then there's me at the back, and I'm just sat there. I'm just like, okay, I guess I got to wait 15 minutes now for this person to come out. They never buy anything. They never, if they come out with like a newspaper, I'd be like, okay, at least they wanted something. They just come out and they've just paid for their petrol inside. And it's just such a small pet peeve. It's just like, just go to one of the pumps where you can't pay at the pump and just use one of those if you're going to go inside and pay. But it winds me up, man.
Man, yeah, no, I don't blame you. This reminds me of my equivalent pet peeve, which is when I'm in the supermarket and I always get a trolley, always do my supermarket shop with a trolley, and I go to the large self-checkouts where you that are 4 trolleys, and there's always people with baskets hogging them up, and I have to wait. The basket self-checkout where there's like
empty.
20 self-checkout lanes, empty, yeah. But the people always go to the big ones with their basket, and they take forever.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And that's when I'm always like, you bastards. They've always got
the most stuff to go wrong as well, right? They always have they've always got something with their shop that they have to have the assistant come over like 3 times. Yeah. And it always takes them 20 minutes to check out like 5 items.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand.
Play with cash.
They're sat there putting their £1 coins in one at a time.
That's happened to me as well.
I can just imagine you stood there, blood boiling on the inside as you're just waiting.
No, because like I said, I go to the supermarket late, right?
Yeah, right.
I go to the supermarket at the same times where I go to fill up petrol. I either go first thing in the morning or like late, like 7:30, 8:30, and I'm like, I want to go home, right? And there's people taking so long. Just go to if you struggle that much, just go to the man tills, right? There's always a couple of man tills open. Yeah, exactly. So no, that was my petrol station story. The first time I've ever been a little bit scared at a petrol station, and the first time I've ever seen someone reverse in.
I've never seen that.
I was going to say that's not a terrible idea. Apart from the fact that the hoses were like one of those extra length hoses that you could bring round to the other side of the car. Which was good, but I've tried using those, and
I was just about to start talking about it. Yeah. So I was just getting ready to intervene with this section, Nick, because I have been to many a place. My local Sainsbury's has it, and it's like the pay at the pump pumps have got signs on them that are like, use either side, because they've got extra long hoses, extra long little tubes. I don't know what you'd call them for.
I think hoses is correct.
Hoses, right? And so I'm like, okay. And so I've done it. Like, if it's busy, if my lane's all full, I've gone to the other side. And I drive a Mini, right?
Yeah.
And it is tight. I got it. Like, I'm there, and I look like an idiot with the whole tube going over my car, and then it just barely gets in. And I'm like, if anybody has even a slightly bigger car than me, this is not a quote-unquote long enough to use either side's pump, right? I've seen cars that look massive compared to mine. There's just no way. There's no way. Unless you're parked right up against it, like you're scraping the pump.
You can't get out.
Right.
This is the problem. Only time where I tried it, so I tried this at a Tesco petrol station, and it was busy, so I went to the other side, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll try this extra long pump. Just because my car is low slung, that's the only reason I could do it, because I had to bring the hose over the boot of the car, right?
Yep.
So I had to wing the hose over the boot, and even still, I had to have the nozzle upside down.
Yes.
Right? I was holding it upside down. That was the only way. If I tried to turn it right side up, it would be taut, right? I wouldn't have been able to do it. And after that, I was like, right, anytime I'm ever going to petrol station again, I will be happy to wait behind people on the correct side of the pump, rather than chancing the other side.
I've not done it since. Like, I did it the one time, and I would also queue. Like, I don't understand. Like, surely whoever thought of that, like, the idea is not bad. Just make them like 2 meters longer. Like, if you make them long enough, then it will go around almost any car. But the fact that I don't think either of us have gigantic cars, right?
No.
I've seen there are some massive cars out on the road, right? The fact that neither of us have managed to get this to work, unless you're driving like a smart car, I don't see this working, right?
No, right?
I don't know.
It's crazy. No, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah, but like you say, with the SUV craze, like everyone's in big boxy cars.
Maybe we're doing it wrong, man. Maybe you've got to pull further forward and just kind of go around the back of your car, maybe. Maybe that's like what we're doing wrong. Like,
You
I did the same thing
reckon?
where, because like I think I've done maybe what you did, where you pull up and have your like petrol pot in line with the tube, right?
Yes,
And then
yes. Which is
like
why
I've done
then
the
I had to
same
bring
thing
it
where
over
I've
the
gone
boot.
over, yeah. But I'm wondering if you
Yeah.
pull like, you know, a few feet further forward, obviously not into the car in front of you, but like just a foot or so, if you could maybe go around the back easier.
Maybe.
Potentially.
You know what? Maybe.
Because I think most cars are a similar width, right? There's only so wide a car can be, whereas
Yeah,
obviously
about 2
height can be
meters.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I do wonder if
yeah.
that's what we're doing wrong, actually. If there's like maybe a width possibility there. I've not thought about it really, but
I'll tell
that
you
might
what,
work.
I don't want to try it. I don't want to try it. I'm not trying it later when I fill the car up. I'll be there looking like an idiot. And then someone will try and reverse into me again.
Thankfully, I've never seen a drunk person try and ram into me.
No,
while...
yeah, like this was. I saw so this was the passenger got out, could barely walk, and I was like, "This is bad." I was like, "I'm gonna like." This is when my brain was like fight or flight. They were like, preparing to leave, right? And then at one point, when the car's white reverse lights came on, I was like, "Yeah, I'm out." I was like, "Slam in, engine on, out." I've never pulled out of a petrol station that quickly because I was like, I don't want to get hit. I can't be bothered to get hit.
I mean, at least you didn't have to go inside.
Night.
At least you didn't have to go inside to pay, man. That'd have been
exactly right. Exactly. If I had to, I think if I had to go inside to pay, I would have moved the car to a different spot and then just gone inside. Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's quite interesting though. This petrol station, past a certain time, and I was past a certain time, unmanned cars only.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. Yeah. Like they'll just have
which is interesting.
The pay at the pump, tills only.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Which is very interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a few now where you can do like you can preset the amount you want to pay, and the pump will like slow down as you get towards the end, which I find interesting as well. I don't usually do it because they are so slow. Like
really,
yeah. Like I've done it before. You'll go and you'll type in like, you know, however much you want to spend, £30, £40, and you'll put the pump in. And to start with, it's fine. But once it gets to like £32, if you're spending 40, it'll slow down to a crawl to make sure it doesn't go over. And it'll just kind of very slowly creep up. And you're looking at it and it's like 39.5, 39.6, 39. And it creeps up to 40 and then it goes dudung and stops. And so like, I don't really rate it that much. Like I just do it. It's not hard to stop it at 40.
And I was going to say, do you ever play the petrol pump game where you try and And I used to usually hit it. Now I don't care anymore because I think I used to pay with cash petrol, but now I pay with cards, so I just don't care. I'm like, if it's £40 and 23
pence, right? Like, it doesn't matter, right?
Whatever. These days I usually just full tank the thing until it clicks.
Oh, Nick, unfortunately, man, I think we're out of time for this episode of the What Have You Been Up To podcast. Never fear, though, Nick and I'll be back next week with a brand new episode of the podcast. Between now and then, though, you can visit the Discord, which is available at discord.whybut.co. There'll also be a link in the description or in the show notes if you're watching or listening on your favorite podcasting platform. You can join the Discord and you can chat with other members and tell us what you've been up to, or discuss the podcast itself as well and be notified when future podcasts are released. You can also follow us on all of the standard social media platforms. I believe we're on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of good stuff as well. I don't know if there are any posts there just yet, but there will be in the future for sure if you want to check that out. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform. And yeah, hope you have a great week. Do some fun stuff. And I hope we see you back next time.
See you, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.